Hello everybody, my name is Richard and I'm over here at the Fort Lee Recreation Center for a town hall with the Fort Lee Mayor, Chief Hintz, and other municipality agencies over here in Fort Lee. I'm joined here today with Sungwon. Would you like to introduce yourself for the folks?
Hi, my name is Sungwon. I live in Fort Lee, New Jersey. Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you. And, I understand that a lot of us, our organization included, we're part of the Justice for Victorialee coalition. And so we're here today for this town hall to have a candid conversation, right, with the Fort Lee Mayor and the Chief Hintz and, different first responders and things like that. Not to jump into the heavy topics, but if you could just talk about, what is this coalition and, why did we form it?
This coalition consists of several community organizations, not just Korean American organizations, but everybody who stands for civil rights and justice in New Jersey and New York, like case, who want to see accountability and justice to be carried out in the wake of the unjust killing of Victorialee, who was a 25-year-old Korean American woman here in Fort Lee, was shot by the Fort Lee Police Department. So our coalition has been meeting with the Borough of Fort Lee several times, and this is one of the outcomes of these ongoing communications. And this is town hall, definitely not a final outcome or result of our ongoing conversations, but a meaningful step towards the right direction to have open conversation, like you said, Richard, on what the borough has been doing in the wake of the killing and what they can do with us, the community members, to prevent such a tragedy from happening again.
Could you talk about, just what Fort Lee means to you?
Hey, do you consider yourself Korean or American, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm both, maybe I'm one or the other, but this is my home regardless, right? This is where my family is, this is where I grew up, and I just don't want any of my neighbors or my family members to have to go through something like this, ever, let alone Korean or for language barriers or for whatever reasons there may be. So it upsets me to know that this happened in my own town, and that we're not really seeing a meaningful response from the borough or the state government to address the concerns of the local residents and to provide an answer to how we together can prevent from something like this to happen again.
What are some of the things that we hope to get out of today's conversation?
But I think the most meaningful of all is that we're going to have this conversation in the open and on the records, as opposed to the several rounds that we've had in private so far to have the mayor and the borough's, the governing body's position on the matter, and to our requests and questions that several of us have been asking since last July. But to your point, Richard, the borough of Fort Lee, what it can do to make sure accountability is at work is, to be quite honest, limited, right? We need to see the state government be more active. We need to see the state assembly pass and update legislation. And we need to see the Attorney General of New Jersey to expedite the investigation on this so that we can see a speedy and just outcome of the court hearing.
What are some next steps you think might be helpful and beneficial for just raising awareness of the issues that that are underlying of why we even started this, right?
Well, we got to keep talking about it. We got to we can't forget about this just because it's not featured or covered as heavily as it used to in the media, whether that's Korean or otherwise. And it's going to be a long fight, and any change takes a long time to take place, right? It's not going to come overnight, so any meaningful progress, it's going to take a lot of time, it's going to take a lot of people's effort. So you just got to keep at it, and I hope you would not forget the unjust death of Victoria and the tragedy that her surviving family has been going through.
Because you're also here representing your own nonprofit, right? So if you could talk about your own nonprofit, One Vote Coalition, and what that...
The namesake is Martin Luther King's quote that we may have come here on different ships, but we're in the same boat now. To that end, whether you're Asian American or immigrant or otherwise, we live in one community, right? Regardless of our citizenship status or language proficiency. And I think there's a lot of disconnect between what's going on in the news, public policy, and what we perceive and experience in our daily lives. And our organization tries to bridge that gap so that we as an Asian American community can stand in solidarity with all minorities so that we can uplift everybody and advance and defend the civil rights and civil liberties of everybody who's affected. Thank you, Richard.
The situation of what happened with Victorialee, obviously.
Obviously they understand that the clock is ticking. It's now April.
Yeah.
We really would like to have some kind of resolution before the end of the year or by year's end. So I don't have any updates, but I hope that this will again open dialogue. And I just passed in the Assembly the excessive use of force bill, which basically codifies some of the AG's policies, not all, but it shows everyone what is to be expected moving forward on de-escalating the situation. And I think really that's what we were trying to achieve here, both on the side of the first responders, as well as educating our residents and our community as to, what to do moving forward when there is a situation.
What this legislation is, what it should be able to do, and why we need this.
So currently, the AG has certain policies on how the police should, when they do respond to a mental health situation, how they should respond. Even though they have it in policy, we've basically made it into law so that everybody knows what's to be expected, not just the police, but also the community, like I said. And again, it's just having this open line of communication, knowing your rights, knowing the law is really crucial for everyone that's involved.
So tonight is a town hall meeting. Tonight is a gathering. We were directing it to introduce and to engage with the Asian American community and the emergency services that we provide here in Fort Lee. We're proud of them. We have great resources. We have some real terrific men and women that man those emergency service agencies. And we thought that it would be productive if we can gather as many people as we can at a town hall meeting and respond to questions that you have, hear from the people that run each of these departments, and just maybe learn something. But this is a reach out effort. It's an effort so that everybody's comfortable with our emergency services. And I guarantee you, if you listen carefully, you're going to learn something tonight, because each and every one of our speakers has some interesting things to tell you. We're going to hear from the police department. We're then going to hear from our communications department, which we call the comm center. We're then going to hear from the folks, the chief, Sam Golly, that represents and runs our volunteer fire department. We're going to hear from Steve Curry, who runs our fire prevention bureau. After that, we're going to hear from Chris Richter, who is the coordinator of our Office of Emergency Management, and Linda McHugh, who runs social media here in the borough of Fort Lee. T-Ron Dababjian is going to talk twice, for communications and for ambulance. And the way we've set this up tonight, because we want to streamline it, because we want to get to as much as we can, the speaker is going to present some information to you, try to get as much out there to you as we possibly can. And then after that, we're going to reserve some time for questions and answers on that particular speaker, that particular department. For example, police will go first, and when Chief Hincy is done, we'll then open it up to the public. We are going to ask that, as far as questions, Fort Lee residents first, because we want to make sure that we get to them, and if there's time, non-FortLee residents. Chief, our Asian American population on our force.
All right, so we have 10 Asian officers, Asian American officers. 2 of them are female, and 2 of them are here tonight. Alice and Hannah, there's Hannah in the back, Officer of Basketball and Officer G are here. Say hello to them. So we're very proud of that fact that we have 10, and if you just missed the cutoff, but if you know anybody wants to take the test, we're always taking applications and always looking for new people.
90% of calls have to be answered within the first 10 seconds. So if we're exceeding 10 seconds on answering your 911 call, that means it's extremely busy in the dispatch center, and we're gonna answer that within the next 5 seconds after that. We have multiple dispatchers, we have multiple lines that come in, and we have overflow where other partnering agencies can answer that phone if needed.
I'm a pediatrician and I just opened the practice in Inglewood Cliffs and I'm looking forward to working with the Fort Lee community. Being a physician in the ER and then in urgent care, we've had multiple opportunities to call 911 from Paramus or Livingston or where have you, and great responses. I'm not sure if it's because we're dealing with children, but the police always accompany the ambulance, and almost always the police arrive before the EMS gets there. But when they arrive, we say, thank you very much, let's wait for EMS, let's get everything together. Now that's a child that needs, support and resuscitation in a medical, physical sense. When that 911 call comes, how is mental health calls perceived in your rubric? Is that considered a medical emergency? I know there's the 988 that's being worked out, and I understand you guys are able to give medicines en route for resuscitation purposes, but in terms of mental crisis, how is that kind of categorized?
So from the 911 dispatch side, there are certain questions that are asked through the emergency medical dispatch guide cards. And based on those, obviously every situation is different, but if there is an indication that there is some sort of mental health crisis ongoing, then the Fort Lee Police Department's dispatch guidelines dictate that police will be dispatched to that scene. And that's what the dispatch, no. Police will be dispatched accompanying the ambulance. So in Fort Lee, it's a little bit different. Other towns, ambulance services are not necessarily in the building, or maybe they're not staffing 2 ambulances. So a lot of towns in this area will dispatch police officers to every single medical call, whether that's somebody who's having difficulty breathing or somebody that has a laceration on their arm, a cut on their arm. In Fort Lee, because we staff 2 ambulances around the clock, and Fort Lee's busy, we don't always either A, have the resource to send a police officer, or B, the ambulance will be there faster than the police officer. So it's not policy there. From the 911 perspective, if that call is deemed a mental health call, police and ambulance will be dispatched. From the ambulance perspective, we don't specifically ask for a police officer to respond to the call unless we are advised by the dispatch center that there may be a mental health crisis taking place, and for our own safety, we ask for police officers to also be dispatched if they have not already been dispatched.
First of all, I want to say thank you for your service, because I know our ambulance code and fire runs by 100% volunteers, so I'm very grateful.
Thank you.
Yes, my question, please correct me if I'm wrong. I know we have very fast-growing mental health crisis young generation these days. So when you get a 911 phone call, is there any way our dispatchers can get the information or reporting history about the resident who report to 911 before our ambulance call or officer arrive to the site where the residency?
Regarding the laws of what's allowed and what's not allowed, I would defer that to the police chief. When a 911 call comes in, if there's any sort of indication that there's a mental health crisis there, we can ask questions pertaining to the complaints that are being provided to us. However, going into a patient's medical history is not necessarily, especially something that's mental health related, it's kind of a gray area. You're talking about a medical crisis, but there are laws in place such as HIPAA or whatnot, where if a patient's history is not something they want to divulge to you, they certainly don't have to. So we have guide cards that we have to follow, and when I say we have to follow, this is the law, and the emergency medical dispatch guide cards are written in a way where the dispatcher should be saying everything verbatim and asking those questions accordingly. And based on the response that the caller gives, the dispatcher will act accordingly. So if a caller says ABC and the dispatch guide card says, well, if ABC is said, then D, E, and F has to be enacted or initiated, then that's what we'll do. So dispatchers have to have that kind of awareness, though, that if something doesn't sound right, then maybe we should ask more questions. And that's something that we emphasize and we train. And to follow up on that, there are some dispatchers that have taken the CIT training, and I believe more are going to be allowed to go once, like the chief said, we're allotted spots to take that training.
My name is Sam Galley. I'm the chief of the Fort Lee Fire Department. I'm going to give you a little bit of history for it. The Fort Lee Fire Department was established in 1888 with Firehouse Number 1. They're located at 146 Main Street. Fort Lee currently has 4 firehouses. Firehouse Number 2 is at 2481 Lemoyne Avenue. That's up in near Englewood Cliffs. Hook and Ladder Company Number 3 is at 557 Main Street on Main Street near Route 46, while Palisade Engine Company 4 is at 4 Breakerhoff Avenue by School Number 4. The Fort Lee Fire Department is 100% volunteer. Services obviously the borough of Fort Lee, all of its residents, or anybody traveling through. Should they have any type of an emergency, the Fort Lee Fire Department will be there for them. The fire department has 3 chiefs. Myself, Deputy Chief Chris Richter, who's also our OEM coordinator, and our battalion chief, Josh Abaskal, who couldn't be here with us tonight. The Fort Lee Fire Department's administration also has 4 captains, 8 lieutenants. That's 1 captain, 2 lieutenants per firehouse. They're responsible for the day-to-day operation within each firehouse, upkeep of the apparatus, training with their members, and whatnot. The department has approximately 112 firefighters that are there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're always looking for volunteers. If anybody's interested, please see the fire department fire prevention tent that's outside. If anybody's interested in joining, speak to somebody out there, they'll be more than willing to give you the information on that. On the apparatus side, the fire department has 6 engines, 2 ladders, and a rescue truck. 3 of those engines were delivered in 2024. We purchased 3 engines. One of them is actually outside. We purchased 3 engines to streamline training, equipment placement, so any fireman could go to any one of these 3 apparatuses and be able to grab any tool from the same cabinet, no matter which truck they walk up to. These 3 engines hold 750 gallons of water each, and they pump 2,000 gallons per minute. It's pretty much a standard engine. Ours are brand new, and ours are in black, which makes them a little bit cooler. The fire department runs 1,800 calls per year. To date, we have responded to 5 structure fires, 7 car fires, 7 brush fires, 20 smoke conditions, 25 gas leaks, 20 carbon monoxide alarms, 9 mutual aid calls. And I want to kind of discuss mutual aid calls. Mutual aid calls are where Fort Lee is called to assist a neighboring town with typically a fire that they cannot handle, that they need additional assistance at, more ladders, engines, manpower. Fort Lee today has responded to 9 of these. Fort Lee is one of the better trained fire departments around. We have some of the best equipment around, so people are more likely to reach out to Fort Lee than to some of the other towns around us. We have also responded to 101 fire department emergencies. Those could be anything from stuck elevators, motor vehicle accidents, extrication calls, down power lines, or water emergencies. We've also responded to 275 active fire alarms, and we've had 83 training details. The fire department is also involved in several of the community events that we have. The Easter egg hunt that happened, I believe it was last weekend, Fort Lee Night Out, the Halloween block party, as well as the tree lighting are just a few to name. Fort Lee Fire Department is here to serve all of the residents. No matter what your call is, no matter what your emergency is, as long as you call our 911 center, they will get the fire trucks on the road and get the manpower to the calls. Regardless of what the emergency is, our 911 center will filter it and get the right manpower out there. Please don't ever think that your fire call or your emergency is not important enough. I don't want to bother these guys. I don't want to call 911. We're here to serve you, and we're here to help you with your emergency. So please don't ever hesitate to call us. We could always cancel. We could always send the guys back if there is no emergency, but we're here to help everybody out. And lastly, the fire department, again, I touched on it before, is always looking for volunteers. If anybody's interested in joining the fire department, please see me or see somebody out at that tent.
Good evening, everyone. The Fort Lee Fire Prevention Bureau, it consists of 12 full-time fire inspectors, 6 part-time inspectors, and 4 clerks that run our office. One of our clerks is an Asian American who assists us with language issues to communicate with the Asian community, which is a great asset. We're located at 1365 Inwood Terrace, right by the Jack Walter Community Center, alongside the building department. We share offices with the Fort Lee Building Department. The Fire Prevention Bureau inspects all new construction projects for required fire safety compliance in accordance with state and local codes. We perform periodic inspections of all structures and businesses in town except for 1 and 2 family owner-occupied homes. They're the only structures that are exempt from the code enforcement. So if you live in a 1 or 2 family home where the owner of the home lives there, your residence does not get inspected unless, of course, you have a complaint. You call us, we're going to be there to assist you in any way we can. We perform change of occupancy inspections. So when tenancy changes in a building, you have to get what's called a COC, which is a continuous certificate of occupancy. That includes all sales and all rentals in your units. We perform state-required lead inspections. There's a state law now that older homes have to be inspected on certain intervals for lead, and that's for health reasons. So we perform that through our office also. We witness and assist with all fire drills throughout the school system in the borough. We perform fire investigations on all fires that happen throughout the borough. We respond during the daytime hours of 6 a.m. till 4 p.m. to assist the fire department with fire and carbon monoxide alarms. All our inspectors are also firefighters in town, so we respond to all fire alarms, not only during the day when we're working, but also at night when we're off duty or on the overnight when we're home sleeping. We're all volunteers on top of being inspectors. We visit our schools and preschools during National Fire Prevention Week, and we teach the kids the importance of fire safety. We teach them about the Stay Low and Go and Smoke program, the No Two Ways Out program, have a family meeting place in the event of a fire so you can account for all your family members. In the event your clothes catch fire, we teach them how to stop, drop, cover their mouth, and roll to put that fire out. So these are things that we do on an annual basis, and we try to get the importance of fire safety at the young age to all the children. We also have a fire safety trailer, which unfortunately right now, due to age, is out of service, but with the graciousness of the borough, we just ordered a new one, and hopefully within the next 6 to 7 months, our new fire safety trailer, which is the smokehouse that you see all the events. We teach the kids how to crawl through low and smoke and how to get out from a window, and it's a great education experience for the kids, and we hope that, you know, one day it might save somebody's life. One of the important programs that my office handles is called the Needs Assistance Registration Program. If anybody in your family is incapable of getting out in the event of a fire emergency on their own, and you feel they need special assistance, or that we have to give special attention to make sure that party gets out, it's a free program. There's no cost involved whatsoever. You contact my office. I'll be outside later. I'll give you the information. We'll register their information. We give you little stickers, an N, and it's got an N slash and an A. It's blue if that party does not use oxygen. It's green if they're on oxygen. And the reason for that is oxygen can feed a fire, so the fire service wants to know if there's any oxygen in use in that apartment. And when we get a report of a fire, our communication center will have all this information in the computer system. So if you call up and my address is ABC Smith Street, while the fire department is being dispatched, ABC Smith Street's coming up on the communications center desk, and all the information about the people who need special assistance is given to the fire department responding units. So we know when we get there, we have to give special attention to those units. It's a great program. If you have anybody that needs assistance like that, please take advantage of it. It's very important. We also have a Tot Finder program. If you have a newborn in the home, there's a Tot Finder program. There's stickers involved with that. You put a sticker on the door of your residence, put a sticker on the door where the baby sleeps. It helps the fire department locate that child or baby, infant, as soon as we arrive at the scene. One of the most important things that you guys can do is to make sure that you all have working smoke and carbon monoxide detectors in your home. I cannot tell you how important that is. The early notification of that smoke detector to make you aware of a problem, to get you out of the home safely, it's just unbelievable. You need that. As far as the carbon monoxide goes, carbon monoxide cannot be smelled. There's no smell to carbon monoxide. Because you can't see it, you can't smell it. So the importance of having a carbon monoxide alarm and paying attention to that alarm when it goes off and immediately leaving the area until you call 911 and the fire department comes to check with our meters to see if there's actually carbon monoxide present or not is very, very, very important. As you've heard the recent news of how many deaths there's been from carbon monoxide poisoning because you can't taste it, you can't smell it, and you can't see it. So if that alarm goes off, please pay attention to that alarm. Don't say it's another false alarm and go back to sleep. Call 911, let the professionals come out with our meters, and we can tell right away if there's any carbon monoxide present. Very important fact. And the only other thing we have, there's a lot of questions all the time, because you see it in the news, on the lithium-ion battery situation. with the scooters and the wheelchairs and the chargers. There are no laws in the state of New Jersey as we speak tonight that prohibit these lithium-ion batteries. And there's no laws that really direct us on what to do. So the only recommendations we make at this time, buildings, apartment buildings, some of the major apartment buildings in town, their board of directors have made their own regulations on lithium-ion batteries, which is fine, but there's no laws out there that we can enforce through my bureau. But we do recommend that if you do have one of these devices in your home, most of the time you come home on a scooter or whatever, and what do? You come right in your door, you plug the scooter in to charge it for your next day's trip. We recommend, because of the fire hazard concern with these, is that you don't charge these units in between you and your exit from your home or from your apartment. Because if these units do catch fire, it'll totally block your way out. So if you're going to use these units and charge them in your home, which we don't recommend, but we can't prohibit it, we just say, please don't do it in between where you stay and where you sleep and your way out of the apartment. Try to do it off in some corner somewhere that will not interrupt you in getting out in the event of an emergency.
My primary role as a police officer, I'm also a fire chief in town, and I was a couple years ago awarded with being given the coordinator's position for Office of Emergency Management. That's right. So Office of Emergency Management falls under, at the federal level, FEMA, drops down to the state OEM, which is run by the New Jersey State Police, the county, which is run by the Sheriff's Department, and then finally down to the municipal level, and that would be me in Fort Lee. And then we have 4 deputy coordinators that are in the back and some are outside that are full-time volunteers. So OEM in Fort Lee has roughly 40 members, all volunteer, 10 of which are of Asian American descent, whether there's a couple of Chinese members, a couple of Korean members, and then the rest there's a little bit of all backgrounds there. So some of the roles of emergency management, developing various plans for emergencies, natural disasters, larger scale incidents such as COVID, things like that took us by surprise. Coordinate efforts with those emergencies, hurricanes, storms, flooding. Something that's mandatory on the state level that the town has to do is develop an emergency operations plan, and that's for things of natural disasters, not so much police emergencies or fire emergencies or EMS. Natural disasters, hurricanes, earthquakes, tornadoes, some of those aren't as popular around here. Now it's been tweaked in the last year and a half because of COVID, so there's a COVID aspect to those emergency operations plans, ensuring that we have the proper supplies and resources for those events, whether it's assisting the fire department with things like generators, obtaining generators, grants on the federal level. We have access to the federal grant system, the state grant system that we're able to get. So again, with that, that's at the power of the mayor and council who provide us with all those resources and give me the ability to apply for those. Promoting disaster resilience and community preparedness. We go around to, along with Fire Official Curry, Chief NC staff at the police department, through numerous high rises and building locations within the borough, trying to promote awareness and stuff to the residents, what they should do in emergencies, natural disasters, hurricanes, flooding, some safety precautions they can take, not take, who to call, things like that. Evaluating for those issues, seeing what we have throughout the borough, creating relief plans for those disasters if they should happen, and we're responsible for the funding with that, applying for the funding through the state and federal systems. We've also staffed the Emergency Operations Center along with Chief Hincy's staff at the PD, staffing rehab centers throughout the borough, whether it be during a major fire or a snowstorm, stuff like that, to make sure our emergency services have a hot meal or a relief place. If it's a place to sleep, they need a place to sleep. We assist Fire Official Curry with relocating residents in the event of a major fire, a hoarding situation, things like that. And most recently, I think the thing that really brought OEM on the map in this area throughout the state of New Jersey was obviously the COVID pandemic, where it was realized that staff was needed, volunteer staff was needed, resources that we weren't normally having were needed, such as masks, personal protective equipment, gloves, masks. We staffed the testing sites that the town organized for COVID testing for the residents, as well as the vaccine sites that they brought to the borough of Fort Lee, so that the residents could be, if they chose to, be properly vaccinated for the COVID pandemic. That's really all I have for
So,
OEM.
and Chris, is there a requirement as coordinator you have to be a resident of the borough?
So that's a state requirement, yes, you have to be a resident of the borough, and then there's a larger aspect of training for the coordinators and the deputies on top of what it would take to be a regular volunteer.
I want, actually everybody here, yes, yes. So they want to hear about what's going to change before that now. I know we and you have a lot of meeting about to happen, and it's not, it's not issue about that, is happening, but we need to hear to what Board of Holy does do to change things to not to happen.
You have a question?
Yeah, that's the question. What did you do to think to change?
You have a question?
Obviously, in a very broad speaking terms, we review our policies, any directives that come from the AG's general, Attorney General, or the prosecutor, we're fully compliant with, and we adopt into our local policies on a broad spectrum of things across the board. So we're ever changing. Law enforcement has obviously undergone a drastic amount of changes probably in the last 5 years on across a whole number of areas, and we adopt those as our local policy as they come on board.
Because we spoke of the tragedy last July, the death of Victoria, what plans do the police department and the governing body have to prevent such a tragedy from happening again? And number two, what resources would you need to get that done from the state government? Because if there are any, we would love to help you out and advocate for those on your behalf.
It's a valuable training. It's a 40-hour class CIT training. I haven't even taken it myself. I'd rather have I don't answer calls. I'd rather have a patrolman answer calls, take the class, than the guy that sits in the office. So, to your point, I've asked to have more classes, and that hasn't been answered because they're still offering the same level of classes. So if you have any lobbying ability, for a lack of a better word, if they can get more training offered, I would love it. So that if you could do that.
Moving forward, obviously, there's people upset. No one wanted anything like this to happen. What can we do for Lee moving forward? People in this room that are residents, working with all of you, is it a different way we bring up a 911 call to make sure to say that somebody has special needs or they're autistic or they have a mental health challenge? What can we do all together to make your job easier, to make our lives safer?
There's someone experiencing whatever it be as specific as possible with the dispatchers. Give them as much information as you possibly can, and they'll do their very best to relay that to the officers, the ambulance, or any responder responding to that scene. The more information we have to paint a bigger picture of us responding is beneficial to everybody.
Can I ask what point of it is the most confusing for you? Is it that, like you're saying, per case it does differ?
So we have policies and procedures.
Right.
So we have policies and procedures on a lot of calls, but they're broad-based for the most part, unless they need to be specific on a certain point.
Yeah, actually, if you could even just refer to what those problems are, I think that would.
So we have a policy on how to handle dog calls, right? It says you have to do X, Y, and Z, but if X, Y, and Z isn't present, you kind of have to. The officer has to use their best judgment on how to handle that if X, Y, and Z isn't there.
Got it. So are those policies department specific, or is this like a general?
Some of them are based on an attorney general guideline that we adopt locally. Some are based on a prosecutor directive, which we adopt locally, and some are local only. It really depends on what. Like our use of force policy is derived from the attorney general. Our dog call policy is locally driven only.
So I guess for
Body-worn cameras.
Body-worn cameras is state law, so that comes from state law to the attorney general, to the prosecutor, to me, right? So that there's like a chain. So give you New Jersey has a law, the Criminal Justice Act of 1970, which establishes that the attorney general is the chief law enforcement officer of the state of New Jersey. He promulgates his authority down to the 21 prosecutors, who's the chief executive officer of law enforcement in each county. And they promulgate their authority down to each municipality, the chief executive, the chief of police, OIC, whatever they are in that municipality, is the chief law enforcement officer of the town they're in. So each level is allowed to make their own policy, just that I can't be different. The attorney general rules the day, so I can't change policy for him.
Do those policies apply to every police department in the state of New Jersey?
Yes.
Right, so if it's state law, I'm not hijacking your question, but if it's state law, all 565 municipalities follow it.
Yes, and in addition, for these an accredited agencies, so all of our policies are vetted through the accreditation process, so we're meeting best practices as far as the accreditation standard.
So that mental health response, is that Attorney General policy, or is this something that the 14th Department?
The ARIVE program you're talking about, or?
Just general mental health response.
Well, are we required to do ARIVE?
No, we're not, it's not a mandate, no. So the mental health would be locally driven. There's no Attorney General guideline on mental health response, no.
Could you provide a little more details what you can on that policy looks like on the local level for the mental health response?
I don't have it to recite to you, so it's probably a number of pages. Most of it probably details like identifying certain mental health issues, and it's very broad-based, It's very similar to this, like.
Well, how could it not be? I mean, it's a case by case.
Yeah, it's very broad, very broad.
All right, Michelle, we're going to move on.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
This question is from a personal point of view, and I understand that we're trying to address this situation, which is very unfortunate, but I won't, for whatever investigative reasons, I won't pursue any other details concerning this. But my question is sort of in line with what Michelle was asking, is that let's say in a situation where there is a mental health issue, and I guess mental health services were called, but they cannot respond because the person is, let's say, in a car, and the situation is kind of de-escalated, but being in a car, someone calls it, let's say, emotionally disturbed person, and you guys respond. At what point do you make the assessment that this person needs to be evaluated and that you can no longer step away from the call? Does that help me?
I think
That's a tough one. I don't know if there's enough of it.
I'm not sure why you threw the car in there. I think.
So because I had a family member that didn't want to disturb the family, so she went to the car and alerted the rest of the neighborhood. And many people came out to try to address the situation, but there was a fear that the police would be called upon, and at one point when the police arrived, you have to take a person in for evaluation.
If they're a threat or danger to themselves or others.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So that's a good question.
So for us to involuntarily commit you, we'd have to contact the psychiatric emergency screening hotline, which is 262-HELP in Bergen County. And basically the baseline is if that person appears to be a threat or a danger to themselves or others. That's what we go by. And that's based on visible observation or statements that the officer's dealing with.
So at that point, the family member At that point, the family member, even though they don't want to commit, has made that. I mean, who commits that person?
Who commits the mental health screener that the police officer contacts via phone would be the one committing that person. Yes.
The family doesn't have anything to do with it.
Well, if you're dialing 911, there's an implied consent that you're asking for help, and that's why the police or whoever is responding to that situation. Yeah.
Well, I'm saying is the situation is neighbors called.
Someone called, so that's how we take it. Yeah.
I appreciate so much for you opening this up, and also for me to be invited. Even though I'm not a Fort Lee resident, and I have been very upset about watching the videos and hearing about Victorialee. To me, it seems that there's two different issues here. First, it's the mental health. It's a health crisis. And I think that more medical people should be involved, because while you say every case is different, and it's true every case is different from a psychiatric point of view, a person who is clearly psychotic is experiencing hallucinations and flight of ideas, and they're not in their right mind, and that we couldn't possibly expect police officers to be able to ascertain that from such a short period of time. And then I think the CIT courses would be very helpful, but I think that you guys are doing the best that you can, but I think the system needs to be evaluated to keep up with the mental health
to keep up with the mental health crisis. This is not the only situation that has happened in this country with the rise in the mental health crisis since COVID. And then I think the second issue is this communication and cultural barrier that is even evident from one person's question, and then the clarity is kind of getting lost on the way. So you can imagine that in an emergency situation, that would be 100-fold more difficult. And I think I appreciate that you guys are all sitting here and discussing the possible solutions and trying to make everybody more comfortable, including you. I think that the system needs to also change to help you guys do the job that you're trying to do. And I think that we have to recognize that mental health is a health issue. And you are not, as law enforcement officers, you are not health professionals, and maybe you can get training or you can add people to the force, but I see two different issues here, and I appreciate that you're having this conversation.
No, and I think you summarized it wonderful. Thank you. I think it's also about actions, right? That 9/11 video, we produced it in both English and Korean American. We were asked to do that. We were asked to convene this town hall, although I was always considering doing a town hall just for outreach, to make people feel more comfortable. To me, as an elected official, as the mayor of Fort Lee, I'm going to use the word, it's disgusting to me that people would be scared to dial 911. It's not acceptable. We got to get over that. We got to get over that. We have all of these resources, and people need to feel comfortable to dial 911 in the event of an emergency. We were also asked to, send letters to the Attorney General to speed up the investigation. We're trying to do everything that we can possibly humanly do within the eyes of the law that our resources will allow us to do. But I think time and effort and good faith judgment of all of our emergency services are going to get there. So just want to thank everybody that participated tonight, from police to ambulance to fire, OEM, our social media, communications, fire prevention. We're very proud of these guys and gals, and we want you to be also. There's teams of resources that are out there available to you. We want you to feel comfortable to access them, and to, in the event of an emergency, to call upon them to do what it is that they're professionally trained to do. So I think they're all deserving of just a little round of applause for being here tonight and making that.
Today we had a town hall about public safety, and with us here today also is the Justice for Victorialee Coalition. For those that don't know the story, last year in the summer, this young woman, Victorialee, was having a mental health crisis. Her family called for an ambulatory service to bring her to help her in this time of crisis, and what happened instead was a team of police officers came in, broke down the door, and she was shot dead on the spot. This is a very, very heartbreaking tragedy in the community over here, and part of this town hall was to find meaningful answers, and based on the conversations today, and again, I have the utmost respect for first responders. I know it's a very difficult job. But there are some sentiments here that a lot of the responses and the things we heard today were evasive, non-answering, and and as a lawyer, I understand there is a current investigation. The Attorney General is working on this case. The question is, why do these cases keep happening, and why does it take so long for the investigation to take place? These are many questions that are left unanswered. These and many more. We hope that the answers do come soon, that the investigation does come to a close, and that accountability can be found. Until then, be strong, be vigilant, and the way that we say at the coalition, say her name, Victorialee. We miss you.